PLAB or Turkish residency pathway? Which one is best for you? You decide. In this video, I'm going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of both the pathways, and I'm going to let you decide which one is best for you. First of all, I'm going to talk about the advantages of PLAB pathway. So the biggest advantage of going through with the PLAB pathway is a better work-life balance, good economy, and worldwide recognition of your residency program. But when it comes to the disadvantages of this pathway, I think that the biggest disadvantage is the duration which it takes for you to become a consultant in the UK. So I'm going to break down the total, the time span, the timeline, or the time that it takes for you to become a consultant. Firstly, going through the PLAB pathway and getting the GMC registration takes about 1.5 to 2 years, best, max, provided that everything goes well and you clear your exams in your first go. Secondly, after you acquire your GMC registration, as you know, considering the saturation in the UK, the job availability, all those factors, it takes around minimum of 6 months, but could be maximum of 2 years or even more to get a job in the UK. And after acquiring a job in the UK, and as you know, the new legislation that the UK government has passed, according to which the international medical graduates have to work at least 5 years before they're even eligible to apply for a residency program. And then, of course, residency programs such as neurosurgery, cardiothoracic surgery, or overall the surgical fields are very hard to get into because they're highly competitive in the UK. These are one of the few disadvantages, as I've mentioned. And let's say you get into residency, it takes around 7 to 10 years before you become a consultant in the UK. So if you sum it up, the total number of period that it takes, it's about almost 15 to 18 years before you finally become a consultant. So if we now talk about the Turkish residency program, I'm actually going to talk for both the foreign medical graduates that have graduated from Turkish universities and also for those who haven't graduated from Turkish universities. The pathway is slightly different. So first, we are going to talk about advantages of the Turkish residency program for those who have graduated from Turkish medical universities. So the biggest advantage is that they do not have to give any licensing exam. So that period of, getting GMC registration, those 2 years are out of the window immediately. So you don't have to give any licensing exam. The entrance exam in itself is actually not that easy, but compared to the PLAB exams, I would say, especially PLAB 2, where there are stations which you have to pass and you are tested clinically, your clinical skills are tested. In Turkish residency exam, you do not have to go through any practical exams. You just have to give theoretical exams. So it's a bit easier, though it is heavily relied on memorization, the Turkish residency exam. But still, I feel that it's a bit easier compared to the PLAB 2 exam that you give. So it's easier to get into residency in Turkey. The duration of becoming a specialist in Turkey maximum is around 5 years, because most of the surgical specialties take around 5 years for you to become a specialist. So these are the advantages for those who have graduated from Turkish medical universities. Now we will talk about those people who haven't graduated from Turkish medical universities. Now, for them to be able to get into residency program here, they first have to go through the licensing pathway that I've explained in my other videos. You can watch it on my YouTube channel. That period actually can take about maybe 2.5 to 3 years, considering you have to master a different language, a Turkish language, and that can take up to a year. And then you have to go through the the licensing exams. That can take about maybe a year and a half. So in total, you can say that it can take up to 3 years for you to get the license to be able to work here. And then you have to enter the Turkish residency exam afterwards. And if you pass it maybe in a year, because it also requires a lot of preparation, so you'll get into residency, let's say, in about 4 years' time. And then, as I've mentioned, that the maximum number of time that it takes for you to become a specialist in Turkey is 5 years. So if you sum it up, for those who haven't graduated from Turkish medical universities, the time period that's going to take is around maybe 8 to 9 years before you become a specialist. So there's a huge difference between 9 years, 8 to 9 years, and 15 to 18 years of becoming a specialist. Now we will come to the drawbacks of Turkish residency pathway. Firstly, the biggest disadvantage, I think, for those who haven't graduated from Turkish medical universities is the language barrier, Turkish language barrier. Secondly, I would say, is that if you do not have Turkish nationality and you apply for Turkish residency programs. As I've mentioned in one of my previous videos, they have a separate quota system for foreign medical graduates. Though you can easily get into highly competitive fields in Turkey, the problem is that they do not pay you well. They at least give you maybe less than 50% of what Turkish medical doctors are getting during their residencies. So that is actually the biggest drawback, I would say, in terms of pay when it comes to Turkish residency programs. And if you have Turkish nationality, then you are paid the same as Turkish nationals. So that problem is solved. So the pay that you get here during residency is around $5,000 post-tax. Of course, it varies depending on the hospital that you work at, but that is what the average pay looks like post-tax. But if you are, let's say, a foreign medical graduate and you are doing Turkish residency, maybe you would probably get $1,000 at the end of the month, or maybe $1,500 max. So there's a huge difference between what you get as a foreign medical graduate working during your residency and what Turkish residents get. So that is the biggest disadvantage of working here in Turkey. So to sum it up, if you want to work here in Turkey and you see your future here, and also you want to become a specialist quickly, I would say that the Turkish residency pathway is a better option for you. And if you feel that your residency program should be recognized worldwide and you want to work in the UK, you don't want to go through the language barrier and all that, then definitely you can pick UK as your pathway. It's up to you to decide which pathway is best for you, because as I've mentioned, it's a very subjective decision, a very personal matter. So yeah, these are the advantages and disadvantages of both the pathways. So if you have any questions, any queries, make sure you comment down in the comment section below and I can answer it for you. Thank you.